everyone. This is Misha Houston. Oh, I think Bran may be joining us.
Oh, that'd be
He's
awesome.
asking for the link.
Hey, Sarah.
Hold on, everyone. I think we might get another guest in here. Let me get the link set for him. I think he's able to make it. But
Sarah wants you to send her the link as well. Hey, Stacy. Hey, party people. That's what Stacy said.
hold on, guys. Hold on. I'm trying to get the link here.
While Misha's doing that, I just want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day, happy Mardi Gras, happy Ash Wednesday. We had so many holidays just right on top of each other. And it was nice to have my husband off work. Hey, Flux, how you doing? We're doing Daenerys 3 tonight. It's kind of a longer chapter than what we've had recently, and I hope we can do it some justice. Hey, Septishana. It's a Catholic thing, Septishana. It's a Catholic. It's the start of Lent.
Hello, everyone. This is Misha Houston, and we're here. Oh, Bran is saying this wrong.
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay. I understand. I understand, Bran. Send the right way for me.
Oh, hey, Alicia.
Copy. Okay, Bran. I'm going to put it in the Hangouts for you. And try that and see if that's the right one. Maybe you can pop in. Oh, the YouTube link. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Bran, the YouTube link is posted in the chat room. But I'll put it in the Hangouts if I have to.
Did you send Sarah a link?
Yeah. I sent one to Tony.
Oh, hey, Amanda. Hey, Angela. It's good to see y'all.
Copy. Okay, Bran, let me send it here. Try this one, Bran, and see if that's it. Yeah, that should be it, Bran. Hopefully, you've got it. Hello to everyone in the chat. Thank you for joining us here tonight. We're discussing Daenerys 3 of the book A Game of Thrones. You want to do your introduction?
Yeah, hey everybody, I'm Lady Wolverton from the Lady Wolverton's Den, but everybody just calls me Jen. Please do so. And yeah, well, hopefully we will be going over Daenerys 3 tonight, and hopefully I did a thorough job.
Is that me or is that you in the back? Sorry, guys. We're trying to do a lot of things at once here. We'll get started in just 1 second. I'm Misha Houston. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And absolutely check me out on Instagram under Misha_Houston. Check me out on Facebook. And check me out on the Capcom Fighters Network under Misha 3700. We're discussing Daenerys 3 tonight, and she's in her womanhood now. She's been turned out, and she's woken up.
I love the way you put that.
Yeah, she's been turned out. She's a grown woman now, even though she's very young, but she's woken up to a lot of things. And good for her.
I view it the same way. I feel like this is kind of Daenerys takes a little bit of power chapter. Finally takes control of her own life.
Okay, we got a message from Tony saying he'll be in there a little bit late.
Okay, awesome.
And I think Bran's trying to get in right now.
Okay. Yeah, he's having a bit of trouble with his audio.
Okay.
Well, let me get started. It's a long chapter.
And, you can come in whenever you can, and that's true of Tony and Sarah as well if they want to join.
Absolutely. All right, so we get started on this chapter. This is the chapter after the wedding, and they're on a ridge. They're in Ser Jorah, standing over, looking out on the Dothraki Sea. They're on their way to Vase Dothrak because Khal Drogo has to go present Daenerys to the Dash Khaleen and get their blessing, so to speak. The first thing they do is they have a conversation about the Dothraki Sea. And Daenerys thinks to herself, kind of an inner dialogue. Hey, Bran.
Hello.
Hey,
Sorry.
man.
Okay. Daenerys thinks
I'm here, fine.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying I'm here. Sorry, I'll quit interrupting.
That's okay.
No problem. Go ahead.
Daenerys thinks to herself, past here, there were no hills, no mountains, no trees, nor cities, nor roads, only endless grasses. And he says out loud, it's so green, Ser Jorah. And tells her, and now you should see, he says, you should see it when it blooms, all red. He says, this is just a very little part of it. And I want to go right to that part because almost immediately they're standing on this ridge and she has her inner dialogue, but then she's like, it's so green. Green is also an adjective that can be used for anybody or anything that has very little experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when she, we're kind of giving a little bit of I'm no English major here, but a bit of a metaphor here. She says, it's so green. It's so green here. That's kind of how Daenerys is right now. She's a little bit green.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just blew my mind. I did not catch that at all. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank y'all. Like I said, I worked hard tonight.
Yeah.
And then Ser Jorah tells her, well, you should see it when it's in bloom. And basically in this chapter, that's what we see. We see Daenerys bloom a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first thing that stuck out to me.
I didn't study. Damn it.
And then he tells her, and there are 100 kinds of grasses out there. This is just, the tip of the iceberg, basically. And then the piranha, the type of grass is in italics. There are 100 kinds of grass out there. Grass is as yellow as lemon. And interesting enough that his first description is of lemon because she is always associated with that lemon tree. And as dark as indigo, blue grasses and orange grasses and grasses like rainbows. Down in the Shadowlands and beyond Asha, they say there are oceans of ghost grass. Then taller than a man on horseback. That is very tall, y'all. And then pale as milk glass, which milk glass is kind of murky, milky, white. It murders all the other grass and glows in the dark with the spirits of the damned. And this could be a reference to the White Walkers because it says the Dothraki claim that someday ghost grass will cover the entire world and all life will end. Well, it kind of strikes me in the books that everybody just about has kind of the same, they believe in different gods and different traditions and whatnot, but they're all very similar, just told in their own way. And what applies to them. Now, we know that grass means life and death to the Dothraki, obviously, because they eat horses, they ride horses. Everything they do would, center around the fodder or the grass for their horses. So, very important. Go ahead, Bran.
A good parallel to the ghost grass is the fields of asphodel in the Hades in Greek mythology. It's pretty much purgatory where heroes went before they went to either Hades or Elysium.
The Elysium fields.
But it's of asphodel. Yeah, it's. Sorry, I just was.
No, that's right. I think all kinds of parallels can be joined right here. Once again, in the chat is saying, yeah. George just hits you like a ton of bricks, doesn't he? But, I mean, right there, we're not even a full page in. And he's made a comparison to Dany and what the whole chapter is going to be about, which is her taking something for herself, taking some power, coming into herself, blooming, and also the tradition that there is, basically an old wives' tale that says when this ghost grass covers the world and it's white, then everything's going to die. Not just people, every creature. And that struck me so hard because you see the White Walkers change bears. You see them change basically just anything that has a life in it. They can change over dragons, etc. I think that's a big point right there, which just came to me. They can take over the dragons. So, and she is a dragon.
The first thing I caught anyway, was the blood sea that Jorah mentions.
Okay.
It parallels to so much stuff that's going on in the current event, the current timeline. I mean, right now, like Euron and everybody thinks the Euron blood sea, but it just stuck out to me that it could be on land too, being the Dothraki Sea.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. Okay, let me go through my notes here.
Let me go through the paragraphs here.
Okay, about this time, she notices everyone has kind of caught up with them. And she thinks to herself, oh, shit. Here comes Viserys to ruin my day. Because she thinks to herself, this is the first time, too, she's starting to really, number one, no longer feel Viserys. She's starting to see him for what he is. Kind of just a weak little whining bitch. I mean, if I do put it in layman's terms. And, she really no longer has any respect for him, whatever. I mean, and
she sees him for what he is.
Yeah, and she's thinking, God, I don't want him to spoil my day. He should have stayed at Magister Illyrio's mansion. He was offered to do that, and he's just out of place here. She has adapted and assimilated. He has not at all. He goes around just complaining and whining. He can barely ride. And she thinks to herself, she rides down that ridge fearlessly, which I used to ride a bit. And yeah, going down, you're always afraid, is my horse going to lose footing? Am I going to fall off? But she just goes for it. And she, and she gets pleasure out of that, out of being a little bit fearless. And
absolutely. She is getting tired of Viserys. And I don't think that she realizes it quite yet. But she's starting to look past the Dothraki in general. She's, starting to, look in other directions besides the Dothraki. I mean,
she sees herself
on that. I mean,
she sees herself already overcoming.
Yeah, she's overcoming. She's getting past, certain things. She's certainly past Viserys, and she's moving, inching, bit by bit, getting past the Dothraki as well.
Exactly. She's starting to make a life of her own, basically, instead of being.
I'm gonna try to be good tonight. I'm gonna try to be good. It is Dan, so.
All right. Now, after the wedding, they had started. I already said that they had started towards Vaes Dothrak, but she's been into this journey a bit. She has saddle sores she had saddle sores all over her butt. Basically, think of that as like a bed sore or a boil. Her inner thighs are chafed, and let me tell y'all about riding horses. It's like kind of like working out. Like if you haven't worked out in a long time, you go and you lay down, you wake up the next day, you go to get out of bed, every muscle hurts. So she hadn't been used to riding this way. It was a long time before she could even lift her arm or do anything and not be sore. Okay. And she felt like her nights, and for a long time, she just kind of went through the motions on this ride to Vaes Dothrak. She was miserable. She was miserable. And then at night, she was miserable because she felt like Drogo ignored her during the day. And then at night, he basically came in, did her, and then fell asleep. There was really no kind of personal relationship or anything. And she gets to a point where she's like, I'd rather kill myself than go on like this. I'm just miserable. And not only, I want to stress this, not only is she literally in physical pain at this point, but she's in emotional pain as well. And she really can't see her way through this. She's just miserable, all around miserable. She goes to bed that night crying, and she has her second dragon dream. Now,
excuse me, before you go into the dragon dream section, I want to talk about the
the
sex, the forced semi-sex, that they were having. It doesn't, it seems like she's waking up and finding her voice and finding some power. But it never really occurred to me why she didn't just tell Drogo, I'm tired. I have blisters all over me. I'm exhausted. I'm riding all day long. My hands are blistered and bleeding from holding these reins all day long. Why didn't
He's the
she
great
tell
call.
him that?
He's the great call.
Yes, but I mean, I can understand not saying that in front of anyone,
Right.
but what about when they were in the tent alone? She could have said, "Look,
He's not used to being told no by anybody.
I think at this point they just don't have that interpersonal relationship. I'm sorry, Bran. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that he is the supreme ruler in that area. I mean, that it's, you don't tell him no. I mean, especially to somebody that, I mean, do they even really are able to communicate much at
but
this point?
let me say this. Let me say this. I agree with you, Bran, to a point, but then I think about their wedding night. He didn't force himself on her, during the wedding. He was surprisingly gentle. He
They were in
wanted
his
her to,
manse, right?
yeah, it was a little bit romantic, and he wanted her to say yes, and he, went about doing that. He went about with the foreplay and the kisses and the seduction and the combing of his hair, and he was patient. So
To
why
me, that
didn't
says while they're in their home, in his mansion, Pentos or wherever, then he's able to. I mean, he's able to let that guard down. But when he's out on the road on the horses, he's got to stay in that Khalasar mind, the horse lord mind.
Also, I
He's
think
gonna
a
be.
little bit she didn't want to admit to anyone that she couldn't do anything. She's, even though she hasn't fully bloomed, as we're going to see when we get deeper in this chapter. She's still a dragon, and she's still somebody who doesn't like to admit any kind of shortcomings within herself or that she can't do something.
I mean, it just feels like maybe if she had told him, he would may have given her a good night's sleep. Something like that. I don't think that he was such a brute that he couldn't, see or
I agree with that. And I don't think they would have been able to
You
end
know
up
what?
falling in love if he didn't have a soft spot for not
I
only for
bet he was
her,
trying
but
to
period.
impregnate her before they got to base Dothrak. He was trying to get her pregnant before base Dothrak.
It certainly seems so because she mentions that he no matter what, even if he doesn't talk to her all day,
Every night.
at night, he comes to that tent before dawn and basically, they do it or whatever, and then he falls asleep.
Yeah, except to Shane, we are mostly and just lazy.
From somebody who's probably sleeping with anybody that he wants to sleep with on a night or day basis, that he sticks to his new wife, whether she realizes it or not at the time, the fact that he doesn't sway and sleep with anybody else and always is seen to go to her tent no matter what, it's actually his way of showing her some respect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now that I thought about that, I really think that's what it was. He was trying to impregnate her before they got to Based Off the Rack, before they got to the Dosh cut thing.
Yeah, but the thing about it is,
they had sex every night, basically.
Pregnant if you just relax and let her, it's. I mean, you can have sex with her all the time, but if the woman isn't there and a part of it, she may not get pregnant. But once the woman calms down and relaxes and eases into it, and I mean, it's a two-man job. It's for the man and the woman. It ain't just for the man to just get the woman pregnant.
No, it is.
You gonna tell that to Khal Drogo?
Yeah, but yeah.
You gonna tell that to him?
But let me, y'all. Septishana says, and I'm gonna give her this one. She says, "Men are pigs mostly and just lazy."
That's what I agreed with her. I
tell you what, my dad eats at this one little spot at my mom and dad's table, and my mom always calls him Mr. Pig because he drops potato chips and crumbs in his wake. She says, you can always tell after your dad is just eating something because he's Mr. Pig. And she's just referring to the crumbs he leaves below his chair. But that was cute. That was funny. Okay. All right.
Continue.
Let's see. I've lost my place. So she rides her silver down that ridge fearlessly, and she thinks to herself, and once again, in her dialogue, she thinks that, Viserys had told her she was a princess, countless times, but she never felt like one till she rode that silver. And she's talking to her horse because the Dothraki don't name their horses, so she just refers to her horse as a silver. Now, as she is riding, she thinks back to how far she has come after the wedding, and basically the sex that I talked about, how he comes to her, but she's miserable. At this point, she's miserable. Now, we're thinking back. And she thinks to herself, man, I'd rather take my life than go on like this. Miserable during the day, miserable at night, in emotional pain, in physical pain. And she just can't see her way through this if it's going to always be this way. And that night she has a dragon dream. And it is basically, hold on, I've done this separate. And now in the first dragon dream, Viserys was in it, telling her, you woke the dragon, pinching her and hitting her. And then basically a dragon engulfs him, and she turns around and looks back, and he's gone, and it's just smoke left. And she wakes up frightened, with shaken with a sheen of sweat, and kind of shaken by that dream. This dream, she didn't do that. Viserys wasn't in it, and when she woke up the next day, she felt better. She felt the dream itself is her dreaming of a black dragon that's slick with blood. She feels for sure it's her own blood. And
she dragons.
And she opens her arms to it, and it basically burns her when their eyes meet. The molten eyes meet her eyes, and basically tempers her and reforms her. And she honestly feels as if like some of the soreness, some of the sores, everything have started to heal. She feels a little bit reborn. There's a constant theme of rebirth in the Daenerys chapters.
Yeah. I thought, that was a metaphor of her birthing dragons. It's covered in her blood. That it's just a foreshadowing of sorts.
Yeah, her fear did go poof, JW. And that's, a lot of people, you can find countless videos online of how people interpret the dragon dreams. The first one is the fear, and I think to me it just symbolizes like she's got these fears, but it's she's still afraid when she wakes up from that first dragon dream. But that second dragon dream, she wakes up and she feels better. She feels I don't know.
Almost draws off the energy,
body and spirit.
Yes, the dragon
draws off the energy.
The dragons give her comfort. We all know the story of the dragons, how her ancestors took over the world, took over Westeros rather, with the help of the dragons. And it makes her feel like she's taking control over, what she can in this moment. Taking control from her brother, taking a little bit of control, in the bedroom, with in regards to Drogo. She's trying to take over, trying to learn what she can. She's learning the language. She's dressing like them. She's acting like them. She wants to go barefoot. She's adopting, their rules and all of their, customs as her own. She's trying her best to, adapt. And just like Jennifer said, she's adapting, trying her best to adapt to the situation, and Viserys is not. And a real clear picture of that is what they're wearing. She's wearing, the Dothraki outfit, and he is wearing the same clothes that he has been wearing, ever since the beginning. He's not changing. He's not adapting. How could you wear the same shirt day after day after day in the heat?
I bet that stunk.
Was he even taking a bath every day? So was he taking a bath?
At that point, they're in the Dothraki Sea. There's nowhere to take a bath. You can wipe yourself off. But
yeah, she had a tub, but I don't know if he had one. And
right, she has servants
every day.
It's probably a big ordeal to get a copper tub off of a pack horse and fill it with water. But you know, she's lucky enough that not only was one of her wedding gifts a copper tub, which whoever gave that to her, I bet she's like, ooh, this is one of the best gifts ever. But he makes, you know, people also were very thoughtful in the wedding gifts that they gave her. And you know, the Dothraki clothing, the movable copper tub, the handmaidens were specifically chosen according to their strength. And she learns that, and she makes use of that as well.
Stepped in there speaking truths.
Hey, Tony. Okay, so here we go. So she's just, you know, kind of reflecting, enjoying her day, having a great day. And here it goes. Boom. She hears Viserys whining from above. And he's pissed that, and this is that famous scene we get in the TV shows when Sir Jorah looks at her and goes, "You're starting to sound like a queen." And she looks at him and goes, "No, a Khaleesi." And so that shows right there that she has taken these people on as her own, you know, that she recognizes that at least in the situation she's in, of course, she never could have known what all was going to happen. But these are her people now. And she has started to dress like them, take up their habits, eat their food, and assimilate. Whereas Viserys, he's immovable. He's immovable, and to his detriment. And yeah, and you know, I know there's a lot of theory videos out there about whether Magister Illyrio put him in this situation so that he would crack and basically do the wrong thing and die. Even just the lifestyle would have killed that soft mofo.
He's like Tommen. I mean, not Tommen. Joffrey in a lot of ways. He's got that chicken, that puffed out chest. I'm king. I'm king. I'm king. When you're surrounded by enemies, you're surrounded by people that don't really give a shit that you think you're a king of some other place.
Yeah, like he's of no value to them. He's dead weight as far as they're all concerned.
And not only that, he's realizing that he really didn't have much to begin with in the first place. Dany, you know, was really all that he had.
And he gave her away.
Gave her away. I mean, and he's starting to realize that he ain't got anything. He's got nothing anymore.
He don't even have Jorah. I mean, he's already lost Jorah.
Yeah, he's lost Jorah. Absolutely. Yeah, he's losing and losing and losing.
So so the whining interrupts her peace of mind, which is what she had moved away from and why she had give the order anyway for everybody to just wait, because she didn't want to deal with him. But of course that doesn't stop him, and the whining breaks through her into reflection, and she comes back. "You dare, you give commands to me, look at you. You do not command the dragon. Do you understand? I am the Lord of the Seven Kingdoms. I will not hear orders from some horse lord slut. Do you hear me? Do you hear me?" And he is just infuriated. Thank you, Cammy. So he is just infuriated. And, you know, for the first time, and he starts to abuse her, to physically abuse her, as has been his habit in the past. And you know, he forgets she has her own blood riders. And one of them comes up on him and crack. And we see this in the show as well. And they grab him by the throat with that whip. And everybody's asking her, "What do you want me to do?" Not Viserys, "What do you want me to do with Daenerys?" And I think in this moment, he realizes, you know, you no longer have anything. You're basically just an unwanted guest. And he's doing the best that he can to destroy the only person who really is welcoming to him.
Viserys just wanted a hug.
And so her riders ask her, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to kill him? Because it's her right to kill anybody who puts hands on her. And she's like, no. And then Eerie told her, well, Coro thinks you should take an ear to teach him respect. Her brother's, Viserys on his knees. He can't breathe. He's listening to all this, struggling for breath. And tell him I don't wish him harmed, But then Daenerys does to him, which is the biggest insult. And this is one of the reasons I think she never wanted to admit she couldn't ride. Because the lowliest of the low in the Khalasar, whether you're hyper or blood rider, but if you don't even ride, you're practically a slave.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. I didn't even catch that. Very good, Jennifer. Absolutely.
I've got a question. How does cutting off an ear, I mean, how does that correlate to being disrespectful? I mean, how does that show? How did you phrase it again?
I think that their custom is the way I take it, Bran. I know back in the day, back in the medieval times or whatever, they would split somebody's nose to mark somebody as a thief.
Yeah, they do say Daemon Targaryen did that when he was Lord of Fleabottom. He would cut people's noses.
Exactly. So
I didn't know that either. So
I think it's probably like Dothraki custom. Like if you haven't been respectful of somebody, and we know in the Dothraki that they'll fight it out basically. So I guess if you fight it out with somebody you feel, or somebody is lower than you and they're yours to command, you feel like they've been disrespectful to you or whatever, you take one of their ears, and then probably everybody who looks on it would know, hey, they've been marked as a disrespectful person. Just like back in the day in France, if you got branded with the fleur-de-lis, you were, a big time criminal, a traitor to the crown. You had the mark, and a lot of people would ostracize you. It probably something like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, it also means that they're kind of teaching her not to fear him anymore. Because I mean, I think they rule with fear, not with love. Now, Dany has loved him all of her life as best she could, but it hasn't worked. So I think they're saying, if your love for him is not working, maybe you ought to try another tactic. Maybe you ought to start ruling by fear a little bit to make him, put him in his place and make him realize that you mean business.
But I think she knows that's not going to work because she knows his personality and just the way he acted over just being, hey, Khaleesi said for everybody to hold up. She going to be right back. She don't want, and I don't even think he would have wanted to ride down that ridge. But it's just the fact that she can command him when he used to be able to tell her what to do.
Mm-hmm. She's also realizing that when she does stand up to him, she has support. It's not just her. Right. I mean, it's everything around her that's able to push her to that point, that able to stand up and say, you know what, no, fuck you. Think
this is her come to Jesus moment. Like, you know what, I'm through with him. He does nothing but rain on my parade, insult me, treat me horribly, and I've done everything I can and more. In fact, in the TV show, we get where she invites him to dinner and tries to give him gifts, and he refuses her gifts and is a douchebag. 100%. He, I don't know what he thought when he made this deal or who talked him into it, but he obviously went into it thinking something completely wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he just, fooled himself with that, and they were fooling him as well. I think back, about Illyrio and how he gave that sword to him, but gave Dany the dragon eggs.
He was pissed about that.
Eggs, yeah, those eggs are the real gift, and he just got a sword that you can get anywhere.
And another thing, he was used to everything being his and everything of hers, including her person being his.
Yeah,
and that all changed, and he didn't really spend much time reflecting on how this whole marriage was really going to affect his life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he thought that it would just be constant suffering. Like a sociopath. The sociopath that he is, and he just pretty much did that to make her suffer because he's just a cruel and evil-hearted person, and he just thought it was going to be main suffering 24/7. But she
thinking the Dothraki are just stupid horse lords, and he would get his army, and then probably thought he would betray Khal Drogo.
There's the key right there. There's the key right there. He thought he was going to get his army. He thought he was going to be in command. He was giving his sister to this horse lord, and then he's commanding everybody. But that ain't how it went.
That's what he thought, and I think he would have 100%, if he would have been given over the army and had any say over them, he would have thought he could betray Khal Drogo in some kind of way and take Daenerys back. Because
in his mind, he was above Khal Drogo.
Yeah,
Khal Drogo wasn't even an equal. In his mind, he gave his sister to like a captain, and now, he's a captain, but Viserys is still the king.
That's why I was saying, like, he doesn't view anybody as his equal.
Yeah,
right.
Which, and the crux of it is he can hide, which we know is important to them. That's a good point. Septishina Septar says, the earless make you think of Steer, or is it Steer? Yeah, and the Clans of the Vale. Remember the one, I think it's the
Chella.
Yeah, she takes ears in her victory. And Stacy thinks that Illyrio knew what he was getting Viserys into. I agree.
Oh,
yeah. Just knowing their customs and whatever, he had to know that this soft mofo ain't gonna make it out here. Come hell or high water, whether it's from breaking his neck riding or whatever. Or
he even offered. He offered to stay with me.
He did offer. To be fair, Illyrio said, "Hey, you've got my hospitality. You can stay here.
You might want to stay here, but I'm not going to try too hard."
Basically, you're right, Bran, and I never saw it like that. Like he thought he was going to even be over Drogo. But yeah, I guess that's what he did think. But he certainly thought that he was going to, that just immediately Drogo was going to jump to do his bidding, and they were going to start looking for, because even during the dinner before her marriage, she was like, I pissed on Dothraki omens. Because Illyrio tried to tell him, for whatever Illyrio's ill intentions, he did. He didn't, it's not like when Jon got sent off to the wall and nobody really sat and said, wait a minute, it's not going to be, immediate. Illyrio did try to tell him, and Viserys is quite the person who just hears what he wants to hear and believes what he wants to believe. Which we see coming up in the chapter when Daenerys speaks to Jorah.
Jennifer, let me say something.
Sure.
Before you carry on. I think that in his mind, he thought that he could make it because he has, overcome so much in his life. He was.
Yes, he has.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's totally weak. He's not a totally, weak person. He has overcome a lot. He was homeless at one point.
No, you're right.
And going from place to place. I mean, that's a hard life. That's a hard
you're right.
life.
That is a hard life, but
he managed to overcome that and, take care of Daenerys as well, to take care of his younger sister. So, I mean, he does have strength in him. He knows that, and he probably thought that he could have, made this trip. And I'm saying this because, and I know it's paper thin, but if he had just adjusted his attitude a little bit, he probably could have
down a notch. Yeah, he probably would have survived it.
Yeah, he probably would have gotten everything.
But he was not gonna. He did, like we said before, he didn't assimilate. He thought he went into it very narrow-minded, thinking that he was
tried to have a pissing match.
Yeah, and that never serves you well. Never, even in life. I mean, this is definitely
somebody else's house.
Right. This is definitely something to take note of for, even in your life. Like you don't go into somebody else's environment or whatever and think that you're running something or that you're better than somebody, especially not when they're basically helping you survive. And he makes a big mistake with that. And yeah, it's hard.
He doesn't see it as them helping, though. He sees it as their duty to make him survive, They're his servants to him.
And they don't care anything about the Seven Kingdoms. None of them have ever seen. They haven't even seen very many knights.
Stannis says King don't have friends. They have servants and whatever. Stannis says it in some chapter. I don't know where. Says kings don't have friends. They have servants and something else. I can't remember the exact quote. I'll find it real quick.
So Daenerys decides, okay, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make him walk. And I think probably Viserys was just relieved she wasn't going to do anything worse. But that's the lowest of the low. Like I was saying, when you don't even walk in the Khalasar, you might as well be a slave. I mean, you're not respected, not anything. That's like, and even like they say, when a call is no call, who cannot ride his horse.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably, she probably did to him, you know, instead of doing anything physical to him, she went 100% mental, because now nobody, even somebody that was fascinated by their different looks or by anything, is not going to be fascinated by him anymore.
Stannis tells Catelyn that kings have no friends, only subjects and enemies.
I can see
by that outburst, he certainly made himself a whole group of enemies, and
Both.
it's getting really clear that the power is certainly shifted away from him, and he could have, been a man about it and put up with it for a little while, but things are not the same. It's just not the same anymore. And he couldn't adapt. That was pretty much his downfall.
So Jorah takes his horse and they ride off, and Viserys is smart enough to go ahead and shut it up. But when they look back at him, his eyes are full of hatred, full of venom. He's pissed, but he knows he better just shut up.
They woke the lizard.
And he's like, and Danny is just a little bit worried. He's like, will he be able to find the way back? And Jorah's like, the Khalasar is like a moving city. Even somebody as blind as your brother will be able to find his way.
Jorah said, Jorah said that he's no better than a snake.
Yeah.
So what does that make me for serving him? And I thought that was really a funny scene that stood out to me in the book. That was funny. He was like, okay, I backed the wrong horse. I'm moving on. And I have to give Jorah credit on that.
Exactly. And then he also says, Dany thinks for the first time, she's like, he would not be a very good king, would he? And Jorah says, there have been worse, but not many.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is when Dany says, still, he is the rightful king. The common people are waiting for him. Magister Illyrio says they are sewing dragon banners and praying for Viserys to return from across the narrow sea to free them. And Sir Jorah tells her, and we have seen this in the story, the common people pray for rain, healthy children, and a summer that never ends. It is not a matter to them with the High Lords play their Game of Thrones, so long as they are left in peace. And he gave a shrug. They never are.
That's how you see Peter Baelish and Varys just control kings, because they know how to play it. Kings have an ego, and they play their ego like a fiddle.
Okay, and then she says, what do you pray for, Sir Jorah? And he said, home. And she says, I pray for home too, believing it. And Sir Jorah laughed. He said, well, look around you then, Khaleesi. But when she didn't think of, she still doesn't think, this is important. She still doesn't think, even though she's assimilated and she considers these people hers, when she thinks of home, she still doesn't think of the Dothraki Sea. And that's like, even though I've lived in Louisiana for 10 years, my husband's from here. When he thinks of home, he thinks of here. But still, when I think of home, I think of a house my parents don't even live in anymore, slap dab in the middle of Jackson, Mississippi. So I think that's funny. Everybody, real quick, think in your head, when you think of home, what pops into your mind? And I think you'll be surprised, a lot of you, that it's not necessarily the home you own that you're sitting in or wherever you sit right now. I think more than half of you will find that something else pops into your head entirely.
Well, I have to say that Dallas is a second home to me, but it's the second home, not the first. Put it like that. Houston. When I think of home, I just think of Houston, Texas, my own home. But
right, and that's what I'm saying. Really, when I think of home, I think of Mississippi. I love New Orleans. I love the people. My parents are originally from here, but I grew up in Mississippi. I'm very Southern, and I think of Mississippi. I do, and I think of the little community I was raised in. So she says, and this is very important, a realization. I don't think she's ever put, it's very powerful to speak something into reality. Like maybe you've thought it, but you would never speak on it, because it would be love. But she says, my brother will never take back the 7 kingdoms. And Sir Jorah gave her a measuring look. You think not? And she says, he could not lead an army, even if my lord husband gave him one. He has no coin, and the only knight who follows him reviles him as less than a snake. The Dothraki make mock of his weakness. He will never take us home. And Sir Jorah says, wise child. And then this kind of irks her, and she says, I am not a child. I am no child. And about this time, they're fixing to make camp. Y'all excuse me for just a second. I'm going to grab a water. Well, a lemonade, to be fair. But do y'all have anything to say about that?
Yeah, she's growing up. She's growing up. I mean, I don't know whether it had something to do with the sex or the surroundings, or maybe a mixture of all of it. But she's just grown up, and she's past it. Even as
she's not alone.
Yeah, I mean, even as he was berating her, she was like, well, I know what I'm wearing. She's not scared of him anymore. She said that there was a space in her where the fear used to be, and it's nothing but a space there now. I'm down with that. I mean, I loved her, in the beginning, but I like a grown up Dany. And I had wished that for Sansa. That she would grow up and get the stars out of her eyes and stop being this sweet little nothing. She stopped that. She stopped being this sweet little nothing, and she's grown up. And I'm happy that she found that early. I mean, I'm glad that she's found that, in her teens rather than in her 30s or 40s. I mean, sweet little nothings don't get far in this world.
She's definitely grown. I'll give her that. She's got protection now. She's got what she's lacked her entire life. Since William Derry died, she has had no protection. Viserys, he protected her, he got her through, but he wasn't a good protector. Now that she's opening her eyes, she's got multiple all the way around her that will even protect her from her brother, and that's something that she's really learning to experience and understand more, that she doesn't have to be afraid. She doesn't have to be afraid to even him.
Yeah, I mean, just to even think something. She was afraid to even think a thought that differed from, everyone else's. Now she's developing her own thought and her own opinion. Absolutely. I mean, she needs. I'm glad that she's found her own opinion.
Me too. Her voice, her being. This is also a continuous theme in the book. From Jon to Sansa, what comes to my mind almost immediately is Sansa telling Jon, you can't protect me. Nobody can protect anybody. Okay. The sooner you realize that and take control. Also, Arya. I think, she felt kind of battered around, thrown here and there. And now she finally feels like, if somebody ever tries to take her again, she could either defend herself or what have you. But a constant theme with all our players is that nobody can protect. You have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet in whichever way that is, in whichever way best serves you to get, to make it, to live.
She just
took on that life that you can, that you don't hate. Because there's a difference between surviving and living.
Go on without me on this comment. I don't need to comment there. I'm trying to be good.
All right, Bran. Okay. You go ahead, though. You never know where our chats are going to go. It doesn't matter. All right.
I'm not fond of Dany. So I think we better.
Her in the books, but I'm not as fond of her in the show. But I still enjoy her story either way.
Yeah.
Okay. So the slaves erected her tent that night, and Viserys came limping back among them. Every man, woman, and child in the camp would know him for a walker. That's fun. That's funny because a walker is a bad thing in The Walking Dead or in Dothraki society. So there were no secrets in the Khalasar. So Danny gave her horse over, and then she thinks back for an instant. She reaches out and touches her dragon's eggs across the tent, and for an instant, 1,000 droplets of scarlet flame swam before her eyes. She blinked and they were gone. And she thinks to herself, no, they're only stone. The sun warmed them as we rode. And then she tells her handmaidens to prepare a bath, but she asks her handmaidens, have you ever seen a dragon? She asks Erie.
Nice,
Dragons
Stacy.
are gone, Khaleesi. And Shiki says, Dad, long and long ago. And she said, Viseria told her that Targaryen dragons had died. And then she goes, but even in the east? And Erie goes, no dragons. Brave men killed them. For dragons, terrible, evil beast. It is known. And then Jiku agrees, it is known. Well, then Doria tells her, a traitor from Koth once told me that dragons came from the moon.
Pause right there for a second.
That also says something because we know Drogo calls her Moon of My Life. And basically, where did the new dragons come from in our story? Daenerys.
Pause right there for 1 second.
Yeah.
Stacy said walker was the equivalent to the dead man walking.
Exactly.
That was a good thing.
So,
that was a good thing to point out.
Insult there for him. She hurt him. She hurt him where it hurts. It might have been better for him if she had taken an ear. Truthfully.
Yeah, she attacked that ego of his.
Right.
And that's been, his foundation. And she just letting him know how things are. And let me also say this one thing before you carry on. It kind of reminded me of Cersei's walk of shame. Her ego.
Very good parallel.
Yeah, her ego, is inflated. And what's his name? Kevin Lannister proposed that she, instead of being killed, let her take the walk of shame. Let everyone see her as she truly is. And that's exactly what happened, in this instance as compared, to the walk of shame. They had her naked. And and without the beautiful silks and the jewels to adorn her, it showed her for who she was, an aging old woman.
The difference is
that she once was.
Exactly. You're exactly right. But the difference is Cersei took that and fed her anger and saw herself through it.
Yeah,
that's
the difference there. She was going to
Tonight?
do this, but she was going to make
Amanda?
the best of it, and it's going to work to her favor. It certainly worked to her favor in the show, and I have to applaud her for that because
she became stronger.
Yeah, I mean, that gave her a true enemy to fight. She's always seen enemies everywhere and people that are not even trying to be her enemies. That man gave her a true enemy to fight, and she was down for the war. It made her stronger. And, especially in the show, I loved her haircut in the show. It just made her look so strong and more powerful and more beautiful.
And when she put on the all black, like Cowan used to wear.
Yeah, she was working it. And that's pretty much all that what's his name did Danny's did to her brother. Let everyone see you as you are, without the ego, without the regalness. Let everyone see him for who he is. And she pretty much turned everyone toward her in that moment and everybody away from him. Whoever was left in his corner just wasn't in his corner anymore.
Mm-hmm. So Doria continues to tell her, he told me the moon was an egg. Once there were 2 moons in the sky, but one wandered too close to the sun and cracked from the heat, and 1,000 dragons poured forth and drank from the fire of the sun. That is why the dragons breathe flame. One day the other moon will kiss the sun too, and then it will crack and the dragons will return. The 2 Dothraki girls giggled and laughed. Of course, you can tell even in the narrative that they kind of look down on Doria a bit because she's not Dothraki. She came from a Lysine pillow house. But you're foolish, straw-head slave. Moon is no egg. Moon is God. Woman, wife of sun. It is known. It is known. And Dany's skin was flushed and pink when she climbed from the tub. Jikwi had her down to oil her body and scrape the dirt from her pores. Afterward, Erie sprinkled her with spice flour and cinnamon, while Doria brushed her hair until it shone like spun silver. She thought about the moon and eggs and dragons. Okay, she invites Doria to stay and eat with her. And I think what she's trying to do is finally that night, Now, this is very symbolic to me. When Drogo comes to that tent to claim his rights, she takes him out into the open sky, first of all, which is saying right there, she doesn't care who sees them. But everything the Dothraki do that's important is done in the open sky. So she knew this, and she said, let's do this. So she takes him out there, and she tells him no when he tries to mount her from behind like he's been doing. No, I would see your face tonight. And she makes love to him in front of everyone. Mm-hmm. And she enjoys it as well.
Mm-hmm.
She enjoys it. And then the next morning she wakes up, and one of her handmaidens, I don't know which one, says, Khaleesi, you are with child. And she says, I know. And it was her 14th name day.
It really shows that she's really she's showing, a little bit of respect for him and the Dothraki culture. But it's also, freeing her, sexually and openly as a woman, but so there was really no disrespect. If it were any other situation, she probably would have been seen as some slut or some loose woman.
Right, but it's not their culture to see it that way.
It's not their culture, and she's accepting that.
And let me tell you something. Next day, I bet the respect that she had just by being the Call's wife went up tenfold. Because she's embraced their customs. Mm-hmm. She's punished that little shit-ass brother of hers, or that big shit-ass brother of hers. And then she's not only done that, she's not only did she make love to the Call under the open sky, but she mounted him.
Yeah.
And the next day, I'm sure it's around camp that she's pregnant, which is also, for it to be so fast, they haven't even reached like Bran was saying earlier, they haven't even reached Vaes Dothrak yet, and it's already shown that their marriage is fruitful. Mm-hmm. She is as powerful as she has ever been at the end of this chapter.
Mm-hmm. And she shows that power. She exudes that power with being the fertile woman, being the dominant woman too at the end there. The one, the initiator, the on top, the controller, and then they see the Call.
Not the ridden.
Right, yeah, and they see the Call. The people they follow is following her, so she's supreme.
Oh yeah, exactly. She really did well for herself in that situation. There really wasn't much she could do, but what she did with the little she had, she did well with it, and that's the best thing that all of us could do. We all have drawn different lots in life, and we just have to do the best we can with what we have and make the best of it. And that's exactly what she has done, and exactly what Viserys could not do. They're the exact opposite of each other now. You can see where she is struggling, he is strong, and where he is strong, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? It just showed that she did the best she could with what she had and worked with what she had, and she did well with it. And I have to give
took what she had and succeeded.
And this also shows how smart Daenerys is. But she
I don't think she did it on purpose.
Well, I think that was completely calculated. That she invites Doria to eat with her. Oh, this is also, I skipped over this little part, but her supper was simple: a meal of fruit and cheese and fry bread. I love fry bread, y'all. I just want to say that. With a jug of honeyed wine to wash it down. Doria, stay and eat with me, Dany commanded when she sent the other handmaids away. The Lysine girl's hair, the color of honey, and eyes like the summer sky. She lowered those eyes when they were alone. You honor me, Khaleesi. She said it, but it was no honor, only service. Long after the moon had risen, they sat together talking. I believe she asked Doria's advice on how to seduce the Call. That's what Doria was initially given to her.
Yes, but not the exude the power of what she did. That was that's almost like when she walked the dragon. She didn't mean to take the Call in front of everybody and show that she's the dominant one. That just
that
wasn't great in her favor.
I have to disagree. I have to kind of disagree with that. I think she had it in her mind to set things up, but she just didn't know how to do it. so she went to Doria, a seasoned prostitute.
That's what I think as well.
And then, once she's learned, what she could learn from her, then she was like, okay, I'm going to set this up right here. I'm not going to let him take me from behind anymore. I'm going to turn it around on him.
By
And
that
I'm
point,
going
they were fucking around too, though, weren't they? Doria and Danny.
I mean, I think it was Erie or one of those handmaids. She was
That comes a bit later. I think
that
comes later, like
Okay.
but
like
I think she 100%.
She did know she's from.
I think she specifically invited Doria because she had basically been. She was not only that, she was quite a bit older than them. She was 20. Here we go at the end of the chapter. Daenerys is only turning 14, so she has 6 years. So think about that. That's basically like an 8th grader asking a senior to eat lunch with them and garnering some advice, just to put it in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I could agree with the act of it, but I don't believe that it was a calculated move to show her dominance to the whole Khalasar. That just happened how it happened. She just wanted to try to be a part of these Dothraki customs, do it, be like them, and it just happened to work where everybody looks up to her now because she's like, lead top dog now. She's on the call in the middle of everybody, showing everybody, proving it to everyone that she is, but she doesn't realize what she's doing.
I think she makes a big move, and it's just not only proving it to herself, but to the call. Hey, you know what? It is what it is. I'm going to embrace it, and I think she probably asked Doria, she's like, look, I haven't really been enjoying making, like, how can I enjoy it more? I would love to know the questions that she asked Doria. I would like to know, but I don't think they sat in there and talked more about dragons. I think she invited Doria to eat with her specifically to talk about sex.
Yeah. About sex, yes, agree completely with that.
But I mean, I have to disagree with you, Bran. I think it was calculated.
I mean, why else ask him to go outside?
But I think she just wanted to help herself along as well in the Khalasar. I mean, she did a good thing by, doling the insult to her brother. But it's not just insulting other people to gain her favor and attention. It's other ways too. It's embracing the people as well, not just insulting and hurting another person. You have to, look to other people and embrace them and get to know them. And I think she just wanted everyone to know that, hey, I'm really trying here. I'm trying. I'm doing this in front of the stars at night, in front of everyone. I'm trying to.
I don't deny that. I don't deny that she was trying to fit in to be a part of this, but I don't think she intended on becoming head honcho by proving, it wasn't a calculated, okay, I'm going to do this because I know this will put me on top. I'm going to do this to become accepted with these people. I mean, this one move put her on top of this Khalasar. I mean, everybody's following her now.
And I don't feel like she thinks she's above Khal Drogo, but I think she definitely, like Misha said, she just embraces the situation, says, you know what? It is what it is. This is my life. I've actually been happy after that second dragon dream, when her physical pain eased up some and some of her mental pain too, I believe, and she was able to finally exert her power over her brother, embrace the role of, hey, you know what? I'm the Khaleesi. I can ask the whole Khalasar to stop if that's what I want. And the only person I really answer to is Khal Drogo. But then by her doing this and pulling him out there in front of everybody, she shows him too, hey, you know what? I'm ready to be your wife. And she's his first wife because we know it's the custom in the Dothraki. They can take as many wives as they want or have as many bed slaves as they want. So by her going out there and basically making love to him, by screwing him, she's showing everybody, you know what? No, I'm Khaleesi. I got this. And I think that was her intention. I don't think maybe she thought she was going to be head honcho or anything, but definitely the highest ranked woman, definitely, which she already was. She just hadn't really embraced that role. And in this chapter, like it says in the very beginning, she goes into this situation green and she comes out of it quite red and quite bloomed and quite fully a woman, expecting a child, a year older, taking control. And I was joking with Misha earlier today, and I said, yeah, I nicknamed this the Dany takes a little bit of control chapter, and finally comes into herself as a woman instead of that scared girl on the run, answering to her brother, you know?
Yeah, I certainly appreciate that. I appreciate anyone that can make the best of a bad situation. I appreciate that in a person and in any person, especially a woman, a girl so young. I mean, 14 years old. What wise and wonderful decisions did you make at 14 years old? And she managed, to make the right ones for herself and for Khal Drogo and, for her standings. And I appreciate that. I mean, it needed to happen. And as I said before, I was praying that Sansa would do that as well. But
Me
apparently
too.
she has not been able to do it. I mean, even in the show, I mean, it took her a long, long time to get there finally.
A really long
She's
time.
still making mistakes. I mean, even now she's still making mistakes. And Dany, seemed to get it right. She finally got it, in the first beginning. And I mean, as far as the show goes, maybe we can move a little bit off the books and onto the show. I was hoping she would make the right decision when she was, about to marry Ramsay. But they didn't show that. They didn't show her trying to get away. They didn't show her trying to fight back or do anything. They just showed her bent over the bed and being abused until she was able to get out of there herself. They just don't, they just won't get it right for Sansa, but they got it right in the books, for Dany right
For
in the
Dany,
beginning.
yeah.
I appreciate that.
I really did. I found this to be a very fulfilling chapter, and it
Yeah.
made me more interested in her. And like I've said before, I've said this before, I am a Sansa fan, and I would have liked to have seen her cut off Ramsay's head myself.
Yeah, or I mean, I expected, on that wedding night, I just expected for her to do something, to stab him or, to smother him with a pillow or something. I just expected, this new and improved Sansa that they were trying to hype up the previous year before, that she was not gonna put up with this, and she just put up with it. I mean,
Yeah, that never really came to fruition in my, we did see her gain a little bit of power, but still, I would have liked to have seen her say, the executioner swings a sword, and for her at the last minute to say, no, give me the sword or something and do it herself. But we didn't get that payoff, and that's what I was really looking for, and we didn't get it. Though I guess him being eaten by the dogs or whatever was somewhat fulfilling.
That was a fitting death for him.
Yeah, very fitting death,
but I mean, the dogs did all the work. She didn't. I would have liked to have seen her take the head off myself. I mean, herself. I wouldn't have minded. They didn't have to take it to the dogs. They could have just took Ramsay to the werewood stump. And if she had picked up the sword and swung it down upon him, I would have been pleased with that. That would have been, 10 out of 10 for me. But
you're not talking about Baelish though, right?
No, I'm talking about Ramsay. But even in Baelish's death, she still didn't do it herself.
I know, that's what
did it. She didn't do it herself. Arya did the deed. Sansa is supposed to be the leader around there, but she won't do the deed herself. She won't adhere to the customs of the North. She's getting other people to do her dirty work for her. And if she wanted Baelish dead, then she should have done that herself. I would have loved to have seen him challenge her on that. I would have loved to hear him say, hey, you want me dead? You come over here and you do it yourself. Don't get anyone else. Don't be a punk about it. Don't put it all on the dogs or on your sister or anyone else to do it. You come in here, and you do it yourself.
I wish Baelish would have been logical about it and argued in a logical reason.
Yeah, or that. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't even want to talk about that ridiculous scene.
You know what? I want to just throw this out there, and I don't remember whose video it was, so I hate to even mention it. But I did watch a video maybe at the end of last week where it was somebody who has a theory that Baelish, that wasn't Baelish, that was the girl. He was. Did anybody else see this video? It was very good. It was very well done, very well thought out, and it's a plausible theory. But I just don't think that they'll follow this up with only 6 episodes left. Now maybe in the books. I don't think in the books Baelish shall go out that easily like that at all.
He won't be a wall ornament. He won't do it.
No, I didn't think so either. I think they just wanted him dead, and
he might tell his plan in God's Wood, but that'll be about it. He won't be a freaking wall ornament.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't want to talk. I've talked, to death about Baelish, and there's nothing to be done. But as far as I go, I just feel like that whole scene was ridiculous. They didn't do Baelish justice. They didn't do Sansa justice. They just tacked her onto Arya's revenge tour and didn't really give her a story of her own.
I like the way you call it, the revenge tour.
I mean, that's pretty much all it is. They haven't given Sansa a story since season 5. She's just been playing the roles of other people. She played the role of Jane Poole. Then she was living in Jon's shadow. Now she's, tacked on to Arya's, revengey storyline. I mean, she's still a character that's not even developed, in my opinion. They haven't developed her at all. They tried to, but then they ruined it.
They didn't know which way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, she's still in the Eyrie with Peter Baelish, as far as we know.
Yeah,
right.
She's getting the best kind of training she can.
Yeah.
And they just bring them down and whatever.
Yeah, I agree. She's a better person with Baelish. She's learning what she needs to learn, and I think she's going to learn, other things as well outside of Baelish's point of view as well, and gain her own sense of.
She got Miranda there too, right?
Say it again.
Miranda. Or what? Yeah. Maya or something. Miranda. I think she'll learn to use more of her sexual appeal, but not like activity, but that the appeal. I mean, get what you want with your looks. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I mean,
all you women in the chat know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I know y'all do.
Yeah, using your feminine.
Every damn one of you.
Oh yeah, every woman knows about that. Every woman has done it. That's part of our gifts. I mean, a woman, has her charm and her beauty and her charm, and that's what she uses to get ahead.
And we got our gullibility.
Yeah, it's just a weakness that every man has, and a woman can charm a man. It's just the gift that we have. You have the physical strength, but we have our charm and our guile, which is what many women have done. Many women have done that, and we're going to continue to do it because it's what we have. It's what we can do. That's a little bit better than a man's,
Yeah. Yeah, my computer's acting up. Hold on just a sec. I got to get this.
Okay, if you have any questions in the chat, please put them up now. We're discussing Dany 3. She's in a Dothraki. She's taking control of her life. She's trying to take.
Misha, I got a question.
Yes.
Do you think that second dragon dream, where she, in a sense, kind of birthed the dragon and the blood covered? Do you think there's a bond going on? There's a bond forming, like the actual bond, like they expect it to be or not? Because I personally don't believe there's a bond between dragons and their riders. But I mean, it's hard to deny it with that kind of. I mean, that's obviously this is one of those examples where we get the answer before we get the. I mean, get the answer before we get the riddle. We got the dragon already shown, and we don't even know it's going to be birthed yet. It's Drogon before we even know it's Drogon. And is that showing an actual bond, or is it just one? Or do all Targaryens, when they hatch an egg, have these dragon dreams?
Well, let me say this. I've never heard of Viserys having a dragon dream.
He didn't have a dragon.
It's just the bond that her and the dragon share. I think, yeah,
Aemon was having dragon dreams.
yeah. I think it was just the bond. I don't think all Targaryens had dragon dreams. I never heard of Aemon
No, 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 no,
Targaryen
no.
having the dreams. I think it's just a special bond between the dragon and its rider.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't think everybody
So,
has them either.
who's,
Daenerys is special.
who's Maester Aemon's dragon?
Master Aemon didn't have a dragon, I don't believe.
He had dragon dreams.
He did have dragon dreams. Oh,
Yeah, but right before he died.
oh, I didn't know that. I might have to reread that because I don't remember that. I might
Yeah,
have to
I mean,
reread that. But I
Uh,
mean, I
Yeah,
mean,
when
I
he
don't think
died
that
on the
every
boat,
Targaryen
that's
had
in
dragon
Feast,
dreams.
right?
I
In
don't
Mhm.
Feast, he has some dreams, and when he talks all out of his head, when he's feverish and whatnot,
but he
there's a
talks
lot of
about having them
information to be
before.
garnered.
He talks about him having before that he had him, that his brother had him.
Septishana Sapphires has a question. She says, "Do you think the children send the dreams?" I don't. I don't think this has anything to do with the children of the forest. I don't.
No, I agree with you, Jennifer. I don't think that the children send the dreams. Not as far as the dragons go.
Right.
Because the children were there long before the dragons were. So I mean, I don't believe that they have some kind of mystical connection, with Valyria and
Yeah,
that aspect. I think they are more of the
I
Westerosi,
think their magic
at
is
the
different.
beginning of the world, in Westeros, in the lands of always winter. I don't think it goes so far as into the Valyrian and the Targaryen history. I mean, the werewood trees doesn't really is an aspect of the ice, and the dragons are an aspect of the fire. So I don't think that there
Right.
is
I don't think it's the
much
same
in
magic.
there.
I mean, we hear about blood magic, we hear about fire magic, then there's the children's magic.
Mhm.
I just think there's different magics going on, and then we hear when Daenerys tells Miri Mazdur that her magic is strong. Like I think there's something to that. I think Daenerys is special, just like Jon is special, if that makes any sense,
Well,
for
yeah,
her bloodline.
yeah, the blood. I don't think she can, make a rabbit pop out of
Right.
but yeah, she does have a special,
she had better chance of that than. No, okay, I'm not gonna say it. Sorry.
yeah, I think she does have a connection between, her and those dragons. And the dragons were born from magic themselves, and since she can control them and has such a deep chemistry with those dragons, then absolutely she would.
I mean, I watched an interview. Martin pretty much said dragons are the equivalent of training a horse, just deadlier. I mean, flat out said it like that. He has a friend out somewhere with the ranch, and he got with her a lot on how to train these, how it worked training, and which Stacy said a telepathic link, but I can't even see that because you would have had that, or is it just a random telepathic link that it pops in on occasion and then just goes away, or is it a constant thing? Because we don't see anything like that. I mean, I guess that would be the closest thing to a bond, I would say, is that initial connection.
I agree with that. And we see that in the history where like Sheep Stealer, where what's it, the girl in The Princess and the Dragon? She God, her name just escapes me. For Nettles brings a dragon or sheep every day till she can form a bond with it and get some trust garnered from it. And that is how horses are. You need to, if you ride horses, you need to fool with them as much as you would fool with a dog, basically. I mean, unless you have a really good natured horse, horses like to be fooled with every day. And when I used to ride, I would, ride at least a couple of times a week.
I explained to somebody
else. My horse out of the pasture and get on her.
I showed somebody, or I told somebody the other day, I said, think about it this way. If you had never seen a horse and and then you go up and see this guy who's breaking a horse that is like trained, I mean, a lifetime of training, that his family's been in it. it's going to look like magic. It's going to look like something that, like a bond between the two.
I knew somebody that used to could get their horse to get up in a flatbed truck. I mean,
Exactly.
Some exceptional horse people. So yeah, definitely that too. But I'm going to say it goes a step further with Daenerys. And she has some, like, just how she calls herself kind of the mother of dragons, she has some kind of deeper bond with her dragon than, say, just the average dragon rider. But even they did, because they said they put the eggs in their cradles, you know, and they slept with them till they hatched.
That's what made me wonder if
the time.
The dragon dreams
correlated
with the eggs.
Like giving somebody, it would be a similar bond, I think, to, you know, having a like a yearling, a horse, and raising it up and then breaking it and forming a bond with it. But I'm going to say that with the dragons, it even goes a little bit further than that. And that's why they always say that they're the blood of the dragon. Just like I think we would all agree that the bond between Ghost and Jon goes a little bit further than the fact that he has taken care of this wolf pup since it was little. And I don't want to say, to me, Daenerys, I've always felt like Daenerys' bond with her dragons was very similar to with what Jon has with Ghost.
Yeah, I can't get behind that.
Well, okay, I mean, well, that's all right. We can agree to disagree, and that's fine.
You know, she may be a warg. She may be a warg because Arya is having wolf dreams, and she's a warg. Jon has the wolf dreams, and
the Starks are, yeah.
I mean, she may, you know, have like a little bit of inkling of the warg or the skin changer in her or something like that. I mean,
got Blackfire, don't she?
Possible, and she may just not know it yet. But the dragon may sense it in her, you know.
And Stacey Smythe says, she mentioned something to the effect that the horse knows what she's thinking. In the chapter, I believe it says that it's almost as if the horse knows her moods. Yeah. And that is 100% true for a horse. You get on a horse scared, it senses your fear.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And I think that's even a scientific fact that horses and dogs smell fear. And I believe also.
I think we're giving these creatures more power than what they are. The warg comes from the person that, I mean, they have the powerful Stark whatever warg blood. I mean, we just fire made flesh. Their dragon. I mean, the story we get is they actually have blood of the dragon, and I can't see that because it doesn't make sense to me. And then with what Martin has said, that I can't do it.
Well, I can understand why you feel that way. I've just always read it this. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Right. I've just always felt like they did have some kind of like serious.
That's why this has always been a big debate in the community, whether it is or isn't. And I mean, it is a personal position. I mean, personal stance on it.
Right. Well, that's, you know, here at Book Club, we always agree to disagree with Grace, and that's fine. You know, if we all thought the same thing, it wouldn't be a very interesting panel.
Yeah.
If we didn't all catch something differently.
Exactly. And I'm going to say, y'all, I've read these books many, many times, but the first time I really caught that reference to about the green and everything was today. And
I got to give you a hand on that one.
Thank you. And that's why I'm saying, you know, with any book, not just these books, you can read.
These are designed to do this, though. That's what I brought up with the riddle before the answer before the riddle. We see Drogon before. These books are designed for rereads. Martin has designed them that way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can always catch something different on the next time. Absolutely. That's
quote by Aziz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know what? That's why there's merit to rereading this and having book club during the long night, because we can come away with a different opinion than what we were thinking before, just by a re-examination.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, I find that as your experiences change, you might have empathy for a character that you couldn't stand, but now you maybe understand them a little bit more. You know, but you can get different, because, you know, I just love books. I love to read. I always have.
Everyone, we are discussing Daenerys 3. If you have any questions, this is my last time asking. Make sure you put them in the comments section. Now, Bran,
Yep.
I know that you are not a fan of Daenerys.
I
Now,
don't know.
yes, I know you're not a great fan of her, so I want to kind of give you the opportunity to speak your mind on this. Uh, are you willing to tell everyone, exactly what it is about Daenerys that you don't like? So we've had the
At,
pros, and maybe we can
at
have
this
the
point,
cons.
at this point, I'm not really opposed to her because she's not too extreme. She's learning where she's at. She is learning position. She's learning. She's young. She is young, and she's acting young. When she takes on a powerful role and still acts like a child, there's an issue. When she thinks she's entitled to something that she isn't, that's a problem. When she refuses all this excellent advice from people that are far older than her because she wants to do it, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah,
She's
so
being childish. When people want to use that argument, well, she took on a powerful role. She takes on that role of leader. She needs to step up and become that leader. Don't revert to the child and then say, "Oh, well, I'm a kid." No, that's no excuse. You shouldn't have took the role.
and I agree with you, but I do have to take into consideration her age. She's 14 years old,
That she
and
should have stayed and learnt longer. She should have took advice from the people around her instead of trying to put herself in that position. She had all the means to wait another year, another 2 years. She had all the means to. She could have
yeah,
stopped at any one of those places along the way she conquered, but nope, she had to have them all, and she had to lose them all.
yes. By the time we get to a dance with dragons, she's made an absolute mess of everything.
She's destroyed the Essos.
Oh yeah, she is. Yeah, she's made a big mess of it. But I mean, I don't want to put her down too badly because she is just a child, and it's a big role to take on even as a grown woman. But she's
Well,
14 at the time, and 14, 15, 16, something like that.
that
And
she's got all these advisors for
yeah,
that reason.
yeah.
I mean, that's what advisors are for. When
Hmm.
you say, "Hey, what should I do?" Okay, I'm going to do that. Complete opposite. I mean, that doesn't. That's where's that work? How does that work? I mean, you got to have consistency. If you're going to be a ruler, step up and rule, even if you are 14. There were a lot of good young rulers because they took advice of their counselors. They knew when and not to, and they knew when to listen to multiple people. I mean, she would, well, oh, I'm going to marry him, but I know I'm marrying his daughter, but I'm still going to be over here fucking Daria because I want to. Just because I want to. There's no reason. I just want to do it. I'm going to fuck up this possible marriage to keep the peace because I want to fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a very childish mistake.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're in a. Go ahead.
We have a
Sorry.
question. That's fine.
I
Amanda Kane says,
Daria
when
wasn't
did
worth
she
it.
take Khaleesi title? I'm wanting to say it was in this chapter when and on the show when Jorah says to her, spoken like a queen, and she says, no, a Khaleesi.
I think so, yeah.
Because even if that wasn't the first time she referred to herself as that, this was the first time she acted upon it.
Yeah, and
no rulers advisors are ever in the ruler's position.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're advisors. They're not the rulers.
Stacey Smythe says there are mentors with limitations, though. And she also says, but none of her advisors were ever in her position as ruler.
Right, exactly. That's why they are advisors. If they were in the position of ruler, they would have ruled. I mean, that's why it's a democracy, basically. They put these people that are smart, that are intelligent around you so you can, that's what the whole point of having a council around you, to help you make the right decision, not to take it all in and then take the 15th path your own way, wherever you want to go, do whatever you want to do. I mean, she is very childish, and that's a big problem for me to have when she steps up in that, where she takes that role. She doesn't, I mean, it wasn't given to her. She takes it and then shits on it. Shits on everybody.
Yeah,
that's what I have an issue with.
Yeah, that's true. And they really, really did that in the show as well. Even more in the books than she did in the show. And she's really insufferable to me. By the time she gets to Westeros and she's talking to Jon about all of this and all of that, and I'm like, shut up, dude. You don't even know what you're talking about. I mean,
okay, Septishana agrees with you right here, Bran.
She's being sarcastic.
That's funny.
I just feel like she's just really, above herself.
I agree with you. She gets on my nerves big time. The way she talks down to Jon. It's almost like she's doing everything that was done to her when she should have learned from that. That's not the way.
Look at I mean, look at how Rob fucked up too, but look at how he handled it when he took that role. He took his advisors. Then he got his childish moment, and it fucked him up.
Yeah.
That's where he fucked up.
Who are you talking about? Rob?
John.
Rob.
Right.
Rob. He had all the advisors there around him. He done, he was doing the right thing. He was winning the war. He hadn't lost a battle. Then he got childish. And then boom, everything fucked up immediately. I mean, and that's what she's gone through pretty much right now. She's fucked the entire free cities, or the slavery bay there. She screwed them all up. They're in a disarray. You can't go in and erase a government and leave it blank. You can't do it. Mm-hmm. And that's what she's tried to do. Mm-hmm. We're going to go in here, flip the I don't know, it came through the damn network.
Yeah, she's trying to erase, something is huge.
She had good intentions, but had no plan of action. Right. And you can't just go in there and it's honestly, that was my problem with Bernie Sanders. He had great ideas, but you can't just change it overnight. Mm-hmm. You got you got to have a plan of action, and she has none. It's little nuances like that it just really irks me, and I don't like her character because of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. You're absolutely right about needing a plan of action. You can't take something as huge as slavery, and I'm saying this as a Black person, and just erase it just like that. I mean, if you go back in our history, there was years of segregation. There was the Jim Crow laws. And all of these different qualms that Black people, had to go through. And we're still not done. Even though we've come a long way, there are still people out there that just see us as niggers. And it's gonna take a long time, and that's what she didn't get. She thought that she can erase something that's been going on for thousands of years just like that. And it really showed, in the show how silly they were. In regards to the show, just burn up a few ships and everything's gonna be okay. No, no. Mm-mm.
And I think the worst part of it is the where she runs around. I'm the queen. I deserve this. You don't. You are in no way entitled to the kingdom at all. Nothing entitles her to the kingdom.
No.
Viserys was the last one, and then it goes to the bastard line before her. Mm-hmm. By the Great Council of 101, the females don't inherit. Mm-hmm. It's the laws set in place, and yet she's had it drilled into her head because she thinks she is, so she all of a sudden is now, and that entitlement is what pisses me off. It's not that. It's not that it's her.
Daenerys gets on my nerves big time, but for this chapter, for this book, I really love
this chapter. Yeah, I mean, she's learning in this chapter. She's growing. She's getting that protective ring around her. That she's understanding. She's starting to gain, an identity, really.
Mm-hmm. And it's good for her. It's good for her, getting out of that. That foolish little girl mentality. She's trying to grow up. Mm-hmm. And I want that for every woman, no matter how old you are. Come on into it. Open your eyes, grow up, girls. Don't be a girl forever. I mean, real
Right. Be a
women finish
woman.
first, while the nice ones finish last. So I mean, and that's just just she's trying to become a real woman and try to attack this situation as best she can. And for that, I appreciate that.
Well,
And I'm gonna say, just as a woman, I had a little bit of trouble as shedding that skin of I'm a girl, I'm a girl. No, you're a grown ass woman, act like it.
Yeah.
I was probably 30 something, 32 before I really came into myself of being fully grown. Like I'm grown.
this is kind of part of why I don't think that she went in there with Khal Drogo like that with these intentions, because she's still making these same mistakes.
Mhm.
If she would have, if that was her mindset there, why wouldn't it have been her mindset at his dar? I'm going to take his dar and run Marine, but no, she wanted to go fuck Dario. She didn't have that mentality with. I'm going to basically rule the Khalasar, and it's she. I don't know. I'm going into a little too deep, I guess, but it just she's still a kid, and it's frustrating to me
Yeah.
to watch it and to hear it, to read it, to see that you got all these awesome people around you that can help you, teach you so much. I mean,
Mhm.
Barristan was right there by the king's hand. I mean, in the small council everywhere. For how many years? He's a brilliant man, and yet, okay, I'm sorry.
And
Enough.
I know. And
Hisa,
that's the thing, like
Usa,
we
Usa.
as
Okay.
readers and as viewers, we get frustrated with their choices, with some of them with their choices, and are just like, do what? But we can only watch on and wait.
I want to give an apology to Sarah, Tony's girl Sarah, for not sending you a link. I did send you a link through Tony, but apparently the two of you, may have gotten your wires crossed on that. So
Skirt.
I'm sorry, Sarah, for not inviting you. I've just got the message. I'm just looking at my phone here, and it says that
Stacy, when are you coming on?
you were trying to reach out to me, Sarah, and I'm sorry, Sarah. But you are certainly welcome to come back next week. I'm sorry for that. Um, and also, if there's anyone in the chat that wants to be on our panel, just send me a message if you can.
Amanda Kane says she
Yeah.
wants to.
Okay,
Anybody?
she had.
We like to have a guest every week, and we didn't even have anybody for this week, y'all.
No, but we can certainly have one for next week. I mean, yeah, we certainly needed, some.
I got to touch on this comment here. She had to marry Drogo, yes, but that's the only man she loved. So explain that. That's the only man her true love was Drogo.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
she had to marry him.
Well, I mean, I don't. I just feel like. I mean, I like Drogo, but I think
Oh yeah,
it's time for her to move on from him. I just
Extremely
feel like,
lucky
yeah.
Drogo match because
I know
he
that is her true love, and she
She
will
ain't
always
gonna die, y'all.
this place.
because
But I
Viserys
just
would have
feel
given
like,
him to anybody who promised him money or troops or what have
Where's
you.
Red Witch? Cammy?
what say Cammy? What did Cammy say? Danny gonna die, y'all.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll type it in the
Maybe.
chat.
Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm not quite sure just yet what's gonna happen with her. We'll have to see later on. Maybe they'll give us some clues, in their later chapters.
Right.
I,
Is
as much as I hate to say it, she may not die, and I hate it. Oh, I hate fucking saying that, but she may not die.
She's gonna die. I do. I think who thinks Danny's gonna die? I think she's gonna die.
I want her to fall off Drogon and drown on the narrow sea.
The reason I think she's gonna die is because I really just don't see a place for her after everything goes down. I could be wrong. I've been wrong about a lot of stuff, or there's a difference between what you've read and what you really think could happen and what you would wish would happen, which I get crossed on that a lot.
Oh,
Well, let me say this, and I think I've said this before, but I'm just gonna say it again. I think she has dysentery. I think she has the flux.
Okay.
I love this idea, by the way.
Yeah, I think she has the flux, and I think she's gonna bring a lot of disease into the Dothraki. That's pretty much what I think is gonna happen.
Why do you think
Or
that,
either
Misha?
Yeah, I think she has the flux because she was out there with the people for one day and then she closed the gates on them. But I
Right.
Mm-hmm.
caught the flux. And while she was alone, flying on Drogon and when she landed and all that time
Shit and water.
she was shitting on herself and she was eating and she was drinking dirty water and dirty water
That's
can
dysentery.
contribute to that. Is
Yeah, you're
dysentery.
right.
Yeah, drinking dirty water can give you dysentery. Eating strange or uncooked food can give you.
Berries. Yep.
And that's exactly what she was doing, pretty much out there. Plus, she was out there with the people who were sick with the pale mare, the bloody flux dysentery. So I think that she is ill.
Yeah.
I think she's ill.
JW. Sam can cure that.
Yeah,
Thank you, JW.
right.
I mean, he cured grayscale.
Sam is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
You're on. You're on. You're on.
You're on, fan.
You're on. King, you're on.
Yeah, I can't wait until we get if we can if our stream lasts. I hope that we can get to talking about Euron later on. Down the line if the stream lasts that long. There's just a lot of chapters between.
Well, I hope
Danny
it
and
will. We're pretty dedicated. We haven't missed a week yet.
Yeah, yeah.
I have.
We've had to change a lot
Like 4 books away.
entirely. Yo, here's my cat Jazz. She jumped
So,
up in my.
Stacy, you want to do an Arya chapter?
I love animals too. You guys.
Hold on before we end this. I
An
want
Arya chapter. Okay.
Hold on, Jennifer. Excuse me, hon. Next week's chapter is Bran. Bran, would you like to do your next chapter?
I carry Bran.
Okay,
Okay,
thank
great.
you so much. Thank you. I
I
appreciate
hold the door.
Yeah, it's Bran 4.
Stop. Silly.
Yeah, we're 4 is next week. And also, if Sarah doesn't mind me saying this, I received a message from Sarah, Jennifer, and she was very impressed by your overview tonight, especially.
You did wonderful.
Yeah.
You did wonderful, Jennifer.
Spent more than I normally do on it, and was just I got a little bit of constructive criticism, and I tried to make sure that I covered all the points that I thought should really be covered, and then also discovered some new information for myself. But thank you all so much. I've gotten a few compliments, and y'all don't know how good that makes me feel. Thank you all so much, because sometimes I still have doubts. I've asked my fellow people if they thought I was even smart enough to be doing this before. I still, as a person, I still have my doubts sometimes. So much appreciated, everybody. Thank you very much.
When you said green, my mind went in 7 different directions, and then you shocked me. I said, whoa, wow, that was perfect fit, too. That was excellent. I mean, that right out the gate blew my mind, and I was, yep, good job. Good job.
Thank you.
Yes, I fully and totally agree. Thank you so much. I mean, I enjoy rereading these chapters, and it was a good idea to do this. And I've learned so much new information, and especially after rereading these chapters, seeing things that I never saw before the first time I read it. This is really a great series, and it's a wonderful series for that. And I appreciate you, Jennifer, for having us do this every week. I really enjoy it. I really
Thank you. I look forward to it too. I mean, it's everybody knows. Don't bother me on Thursday night. Like my aunt texted me earlier. It's like, you could call me, and I'm like, tonight's my thing. I'm trying to get my notes together.
Well, let's go ahead and end it for tonight. We're coming up on 11 o'clock. You all want to do your outros?
Okay, Lady Wolverton from Lady Wolverton's Den. Nothing going on over there, but you can see me. I just go by Jen, please. You can see me Thursdays, 9 Central, right here on Book Club. And how can somebody message you if they want to be a guest?
Message me.
Mm-hmm.
One of us three, we can get it. I mean, get with one of us three.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you go through Amino, get a hold of me, and everybody that knows you.
Except for that, you read the chapter, or or
At
watch
least
the
know it,
show, and that you love this and you like to discuss it. That's the only requirement.
As far as me go, if you go on some of my other videos, such as the haves and the have-nots, or the if loving you is wrong videos that I put up, I always put my Facebook link, in the description line. So you can always catch me there. Send me a friend request or send me a message, or either you can find me on Hangouts, on the Hangouts channel. Somebody on there can get in touch with me.
yeah.
Most likely Jennifer or Brandon, Brandon the Builder. He certainly can get in touch with me, and we can mediate. We can mediate and figure something out that way.
Oh, and you need to
Go
have,
through one of the channels.
to have Google Hangouts, which requires a Gmail address.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's pretty easy. You can do it from your phone, even.
Yeah, just get on Hangouts. I think everyone here knows what Hangouts is. Get in the Game Bangers channel. That's one of the big rooms.
Cammy, that's Cammy's channel.
Yeah, it's Cameo's channel. She can get in touch.
Yeah,
with
she
me.
can get in touch with any of us.
Yeah, or either as far as me go, just check on my other videos, look in the description line, and click on the Facebook link and leave me a message that way. You can type on my timeline.
And we had a big chat tonight. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all around a good time. I mean, everybody had some good good knowledge, good it takes on things, and good debates.
It's funny that we caught the most out of a character that's not necessarily the favorite of either of us.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Bran, you're gonna be doing Bran for next week.
I can take care of Bran.
Somebody said that.
Y'all get ready for some Bran on Bran action.
Oh yeah, and Bran, if you can't make it, then I'll take over for you. Okay? If
I should be able to.
Okay.
I make time.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'll do an overview just in case, though.
But just in case. But I'll try to go ahead and have something run. You can find me on Amino on every other social media possible. We're part of the elites in Amino. There's a bunch of us elitists, as they like to call us. And we're all the time putting out a bunch of interesting vlogs and stuff, challenges, have fun out there. And then I have my own blog on the WordPress, the Focalizer Network, Citadel of Trivia, involved in that. And then you can find me here weekly. So.
Okay, Jennifer, you want to go ahead and do your outro?
Yeah, I'm Jennifer Wolverton on Facebook, and I'm Jennifer Wolverton 1976 on Twitter. That's where you can find me. And that's it. Cameo said, though, would somebody put her link in here if you can do that?
Send it to me in Hangouts.
Okay.
And keep the stream going for a little longer.
And my name is Misha Houston. Thank you so much. I always try to say Maivia, but my name is Misha Houston. Just call me Misha. Thank you all so much for joining us in the chat tonight. Thank you all, and Sarah and Tony, I will get in touch with you later on to discuss coming on next week. I'm sorry I didn't think to send a link to you, Sarah. I'm so sorry. Come back next week. We'll be back with Bran 4 of A Game of Thrones. Thank you all so much for everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us every week. Thank you all, and have a wonderful, wonderful night. Thank you.
Good night.